Welcome to F360, Indiana Folklore and Folk Life. In many ways, this is a bridge lecture. It connects our conversation about oral folklore and storytelling with material culture. By material culture, I mean the physical and material manifestations of human activity. In its biggest sense, it includes our approaches to trash and recyclables, or the rings we exchange with a mate when we commit to a relationship. We could spin into 1,000 examples of material culture, but in this class, we'll focus a lot on folk arts. That's my specialty. That is, the things that people make that connect them to their group and community. This lecture looks at a distinctive material practice that's carried out by older adults, and I hope it will orient us to our thinking about the material world we live in. Life story objects are those material items that people keep, display, and arrange that relate to and help communicate their personal memories and stories. A specific subset of life story objects go beyond persistent personal possessions and are work specifically crafted to structure and tell life story, those personal experience narratives we talked about last time. Some people, especially older adults, use these works to elicit interest, explicate personal narratives, and share their beliefs and values. Whether arranging important photographs, painting pictures of past events, or wood burning important names and places onto a walking stick, life story objects often anticipate social interactions and storytelling events, which is just one aspect of their creative utility in the lives of elders. To reduce memory paintings, story quilts, and other forms of life story objects to mere works of art or storytelling props fails to appreciate the complex and diverse narrative nature of these creations and the process that brought them into existence. The making and use of these objects serve multiple functions in the lives of the elderly. They are objects to reflect upon, props for explaining events and their meaning, the product of a pastime that filled the lonely hours, mnemonic devices to remind the forgetful, a meditative practice that helps elders make sense of the past, and a material legacy to leave to family and friends. In the fall of 2013, the Columbus Area Arts Council invited me to present a workshop on folk art and aging at the Mill Race Center, an active senior facility. While going over my presentation at the center before others arrived, a tall, thin man poked his head into the room. I invited him in and introduced myself. "What do you have there?" I asked, pointing to the two boards wrapped in towels that he had brought for the show and tell portion of our evening's program. "I do memory carvings," he explained as he unpacked the boards. On the surface of each he had carved detailed scenes from his childhood. The pair of boards visually told the story of a train trip in 1941 that the elder, Bob Taylor, took with his parents to Coney Island in Cincinnati, Ohio. I was impressed at the artist's mastery of his craft and the narrative details invested in these panoramic panels. "How long have you carved?" "Since I was 8 years old or so, but I didn't start doing memory carvings until after I retired." My head raced with questions, but the room was beginning to fill with more workshop participants. I want to talk to you more," I said, "but I have to finish getting ready for the program. Can we talk afterwards?" Several seniors brought examples of their needlepoint, quilts, wood carvings, and other handmade works, which they took turns sharing throughout the evening. When it came time for Bob to share his work, he stood and addressed the room. "Since I've been retired, I've been doing memory carvings of my childhood." Then he lifted the boards and placed them on two tabletop stands, revealing the carved scenes. The audience's appreciation was audible as they exhaled oohs and ahs. He then began to tell the story of his childhood trip to Coney Island and the process of researching and making the panels to commemorate it. The pair of panels tells the two phases of the Coney Island trip. The first shows his family ready to board the train behind the Cummins building in Columbus. His grandfather, brother, mother, and father are waiting for him while a brass band plays. The second panel shows them arriving at Coney Island and includes the steamboat, the Island Queen, that ferried them across the river. The Ferris wheel, roller coaster, and merry-go-round in the amusement park are shown in the distance. He even includes a coal barge his father happened to snap a picture of that day. The artist's scenes are beautiful compilations of remembered moments and discovered images. After the presentation, Bob gave me his telephone number, and a week or so later I was sitting in his workshop in the basement of his Tipton Lake home in Columbus. He talked about growing up in the mid sized town, his lifelong practice of carving, and the personal panels he creates to record childhood memories. As Mary Hufford and other scholars have noted, not all autobiographies take the form of books, but rather, some of the folk art projects of older adults are a kind of three-dimensional reminiscence. But these works are not just reminiscence or the recalling of the past, but rather thoughtfully constructed material life stories. In many ways, Bob Taylor's art is the product of a lifetime of carving and remembering. He blends his gift of storytelling with his love of wood carving to produce striking narrative scenes about special moments when he was young. Bob invests months into researching and designing each memory carving before he ever puts chisel to wood. He enjoys researching the forgotten facts and visual elements that he incorporates into his scenes. An important part of his creative process, the time spent researching locations and people and events, not only informs his designs, but also provides him with additional stories to tell about his panels. As the narrator of the completed carving, he easily shifts from sharing a childhood memory to talking about uncovering additional information for his scenes. In Bob's memory carving, he unites the disparate shards of memories and discovered details into a cohesive, recalled world through which he constructs his tight narrative scenes and tells his personal stories. Seniors who make life story objects often engage in a process of personal discovery and creative expression, which is frequently followed by a series of presentations or narrations of their creations. Exhibiting his carvings and sharing his stories at gatherings like the one at the Mill Race Center is important to Bob because they provide opportunities for dynamic discussions about his life story art. Just as he enjoys the period of reflection and research that precedes his lengthy creative process, he relishes the occasion when he gets to present his carvings and talk about his personal memories and research discoveries. His process of reflection, creation, narration is a dynamic system of life review. While carving is a solitary act, the senior's work researching his memories and later presenting his carvings are social activities. During his research and discovery phase, he goes through a period of sharing his memories and learning from others about theirs. However, through creating his scenes, his personal recollections blend with his research findings to produce a master scene that visually references important narrative aspects. Finally, by narrating his completed panels, his wood carving and storytelling talents combine into a unified performance.